Hi guys, so welcome back to Lex Reads. So in today's video, I actually want to talk about slave narratives. Now this is one of my favorite genres. I love the books, I love the movies, and if I don't know what to read next, I will pick up a slave narrative. For some reason, it just puts me where I need to be. And I want to share with you guys my top, I would say five, that I really love. So the first one is Nig by Harriet E. Wilson. Now, this is published in 1859. This is considered the first novel published by a Black woman. This deals with a mulatto girl that she is abandoned by her white mother, and so she has to go to Massachusetts and work for a white family as an indentured servant, excuse me. And when I tell you her life, oh my goodness, it's so complex. And I think also too, when you think of slave narratives, you think of them just being like on the plantation in the fields. This was the opposite. She was in, quote unquote, the big house, as they call it. And you just see how her life was it was so hard, and what she just had to endure as a young person, a young woman. Yeah, it was really hard, but I still really enjoyed this book. All these I'm probably going to say, oh, it's really hard or really complex, because slavery is just complex. That's all there is to it. I'm putting it lightly. So the next one is Incidence in the Life of a Slave Girl by Harriet Jacobs. This is probably the first slave narrative that I ever read and was just blown away, because Harriet is in hiding from her master for years, and then she will eventually meet up with her family in the North. But you see just the sacrifice that she makes for her children, for herself. It breaks your heart. But I really enjoyed this, again, just to see the ins and outs of her life as a slave, also her children and the master and the missus, everything. You get all of that. Next is Queen by Alex Haley. Now, I actually read this recently in December. I finished it. I have seen the miniseries so many times, and I was like, you know what? I want to read the book, and it was so good. Now, if I'm being honest, the beginning of the book is a bore. It's so boring, but then it gets really better once when Queen's mother, Easter, is born, and her granddad, Captain Jack, and you see the the worlds of the plantation and the big house, as they call it. Just fantastic. Also too, this doesn't read as nonfiction. It reads as a fictional book, and I love every minute of this. Like I said, the beginning was kind of boring, but once you get like in the middle, unbelievable. The next is, I'm actually currently reading this. I only have like 40 pages. It's Elizabeth Keckley, Behind the Scenes, or 30 Years of a Slave and 4 Years in a White House. Elizabeth Keckley, she was the seamstress, also the confidant of Mary Todd Lincoln. And this book actually was very controversial, because when this book came out, they said that Elizabeth was airing out the Lincoln's dirty laundry, especially Mary Todd Lincoln, because Mary Todd Lincoln had mental issues. You would describe it now, she'd probably be diagnosed as a bipolar, disorder, because she just had so much going on, and she was so needy, complex. And she really did help and navigate her. But when this came out, it was publication was stopped by Robert Lincoln. Also too, she had stopped getting clients from her business, because she was a dressmaker. And she kind of had to go in, almost like exile, basically. But this story is so good. I have like 40 pages to go, and I have tabbed it to death. Oh my goodness, please read this. I'm just, the things that she says about the Lincoln family, it's like, they're not bad. It's just her experience. And you see the ins and outs of, especially Mary Todd Lincoln. I didn't really know anything about her. And you just see that, and how she had to again, navigating this world. And also too, when losing her husband, that was, oh my goodness, the way that Mary just endured. Again, it's heartbreaking, but pick this up because it's really detailed. And the last one, which I am just obsessed with, is, and it came out last year, is Yellow Wife by Sadeqa Johnson. I have read this twice. I don't read books twice. I read this on a Thursday, finished it on a Saturday, picked it back up on a Tuesday, finished it on a Thursday. And I'm going to have to get another copy of this because not only did I tab it to death, but I have highlighted, you know, passages. And that's one thing I do not do. I don't highlight my books because I like them to look really pretty. And if I do, I have to get another copy. So I will be getting another copy of this. This, oh my goodness, I didn't know anything about this part of our history. This is inspired by Mary Lumpkins and the Lumpkin jail. Mary Lumpkin was a mulatto woman, and she was enslaved, and she went to the Lumpkins jail. But the catch is, Robert Lumpkin, he was a slave trader, and he married Mary Lumpkin, which she's black, and he had 5 children with her. And it's tricky because his jail was known as the Devil Half Acre, and that's where you send your slaves if you want them to be, you know, taught a lesson. And he was just so brutal to, you know, slaves, and everything he did was horrible. But he was, and you know, had compassion and love for his wife and his children. Didn't know anything about that. Didn't know anything about fancy girls, as they call mulatto girls. The fancy girls, it's a form of prostitution. So they would enslave them, and then they would sell them out to, like, you know, the highest bidder. And these men would be, they would sell them out, and they would basically be like prostitutes. And they will only choose the mulatto girls, the ones that looked basically white. But I did not know anything about that history. And this book was inspired. The main protagonist is Phoebe Dolores Brown. Love that name. And you see how she has to navigate with Reuben LaPierre, and goes to, you know, the LaPierre jail. And it is horrible, the things that happen to these slaves. And one thing that Sadeqa said, and it just resonated with me, she said, you know, it's hard to read, you know, passages of my book, but she said, imagine living that. And the least that I can do is write the books, and the least that the reader can do is read the books. And that makes so much sense. When I tell you, you guys, please read this. This book is unbelievable. I have been talking about this book for the last month. I have told my sister about it. Every time I'm talking to her, I'm like quoting passages or telling her about it, because this book is unbelievable. Sadeqa Johnson is just an amazing author, and she did her research. Guys, again, check this out. So that's all I have for you guys. Now, I want to do a part 2 of this, but it will be books that I want to read by slave, you know, that are slave narratives. And again, you know, when it comes to slave narratives, this is not Black history. This is American history. It needs to be told. And there's so many slave narratives. There's so many slave stories that, for me, I think that, you know, we can never get enough slave narratives. And they're a great genre. Like I said, it's really complex and hard to read, but they're necessary. So that's all I have for you guys. I will be back with more reads. Bye.